Hello again. Glad you're back. Well, today's story is the last one in a series that we've been reading about authors who have been inspired about something that had happened in their family that they wanted to share with us. Now, this book, it's just a person that the author is sharing with us. The events are he's made up. So let's read and find out, who is it that he wants us to meet? Grandpa's Stories, a book of remembering, written by Joseph Quello, with pictures by Allison Colpays. It's spring. I take long walks with my grandpa. I hold his giant hand. He says, "You're too old to hold hands." We explore, hand in hand, the budding springtime. If all the world were springtime, I would replant my grandpa's birthdays so that he would never get old. It's summer. Grandpa buys me a racing track. It's secondhand with missing bits. We fix what we can together. We use our hands to zoom the cars up and down, up and down, up, and fire them off into deep space. If all the world were deep space, I'd orbit my grandpa like the moon, and our laughs would be shooting stars. It's autumn. My grandpa makes me a notebook with handmade paper of brown and orange leaves, pages that rustle when I turn the page. The notebook bound with ruby Indian leather string. Grandpa gives me a rainbow pencil. Write and draw. Write and draw all your dreams, he says. If all the world were dreams, I would mix my bright grandpa feelings and paint them over sad places. It's winter. My grandpa tells me tales from when he was a boy of Indian sweets and homemade toys. There are ships, snakes, and tigers in his stories. If all the world were stories, I could make my grandpa better just by listening to every tale he has to tell. But some tales are silent. I help Mom and Dad clean out Grandpa's room. I find dried blue flowers between book pages, a yellow toy racing car glued to a piece of track, a length of ruby Indian leather string, a ball of silver foil from every sweet he ever ate, and an open box of rainbow pencils. A kaleidoscope of memories. If all the world were memories, the past would be rooms I could visit, and in each room would be my grandpa. On Grandpa's chair is a new notebook, newly made with spring petal paper, newly bound with a length of Indian leather string. my name is written on the front. It's new and empty and was made by my grandpa. So I write and draw and write and draw and write all my grandpa memories inside. I write and draw lots of different worlds, and all of them have my grandpa smiling and laughing, laughing, laughing. He says, "You're too old to hold hands." But still, I hold his giant hand, and we explore hand in hand. The end. Well, this author, Joseph Coelho, writes children's books, and he's mostly known, though, for his poetry. He writes poetry for kids. So you maybe need to check those books out, huh? And what was his inspiration for this book? Remember I said, well, there was kind of one thing in it that sort of inspired it? Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, he is remembering his grandpa in this book. Even though it's a girl in this story, he does remember his grandpa. He and his sister used to call their grandpa Dada. Dada was born in Calcutta, India, and had come to England. And yes, Dada told stories about being in India, being in Calcutta, and apparently told stories about coming to England and told stories all the time. So you can kind of see where Joseph gets his talent for stories, right? But more than that, oh yes, and the one thing I said in there, that there's one thing in there that's true, well, it turns out it's the car. It's the racetrack with the broken car. He says, that actually happened, and that's a fond memory that he has of his grandpa, his Dada. And in reading about what Joseph said about the story, he said he put in the book, remember the book that the grandpa had left the little girl? He said he put in those books because he thinks books and notebooks, he carries one around all the time so we can write and draw. He says writing and drawing, he thinks, are really important. He says, you know, you can figure out your feelings when you have a book that you can write in. Write down and draw pictures or write words, write poems to say how you feel, to figure things out. So what have you discovered? Have you talked with your parents or your grandparents? Have you got some good stories to share? So maybe like Joseph Coelho, you should write or draw to keep those memories, right? Yeah, Joseph said he misses his grandpa. He remembers. And he said he wanted you to know that he couldn't read until he was like 7 years old. And it wasn't until he was like grown up that he figured out, oh, I want to be a writer and write stories and poems. He did a whole bunch of stuff before then until he finally figured out, I'm good at this. So everybody takes a while sometimes to figure out what their place is in the world, right? But who is it that is with us through all of those sad times, happy times, and the times when we just don't know what we're doing? Yeah, God. God is always with us which is a really big relief, right? So I'll see you next week. We'll have another story. And what shall we read next? I don't know. Let's find out. Come back next week. Bye. And if you'd like more books by Joseph Coelho, here are some of his other titles, including a book on how to help you learn how to write poems for yourself.